Right now on the National Weather Desk, Labor Day weekend. Millions of Americans are on the move. What will the weather be like where you're going?
So here's kind of a nationwide view of what we're expecting this Labor Day weekend.
Remembering Katrina, we'll look back on the devastating hurricane 19 years after it made its final landfall.
80% of New Orleans flooded after the levee system failed.
We'll help you better understand how landspouts develop,
giving it a tornado-like appearance, even though it's not one.
A New England community has a new problem, roaming packs of coyotes.
Then you don't know which ones of those are going to be pet predators.
And it's birds versus people along the Wisconsin shoreline.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. The Atlantic hurricane season is typically approaching its peak this time of year, and this was forecast by multiple sources to be one of the busiest seasons on record. Instead, it's been a very quiet start. This morning, we're monitoring one disturbance in the Atlantic. It has just a 20% chance of development over the next week. For now, it is not much of a concern to the mainland United States. Over in the Pacific, Tropical Storm Gilma remains on pace to impact the Hawaiian Islands tomorrow, but it is still weakening. Later today, it's expected to become a remnant low. Maui and Oahu have the best chances of seeing gusty winds and rain from the remnants of Gilma. It's a much more serious situation in southern Japan, where Typhoon Shanshan made landfall this morning. The slow-moving storm could bring up to 40 inches of rain, triggering flooding and landslides. Up to 4 million people in southern Japan were urged to evacuate. Hundreds of flights were canceled, and bullet train service is suspended. Absolutely nothing like that here, but there's a threat of severe thunderstorms today in the northern plains. The greatest risk, a level 2 out of 5, is in Minnesota, northern Iowa, and western Wisconsin. There is a slightly lower risk in the green shaded areas, including Washington, D.C. and Omaha, Nebraska. Well, the unofficial end of summer is this weekend, and AAA says this could be one of the busiest Labor Day travel seasons in recent memory. Meteorologist Barry Brandt looks at the weather forecast for your destination.
We've got a new front coming down into the upper Midwest. Scattered showers and thunderstorms from Wisconsin down into Kansas. Pretty hot in advance of that front. There'll be scattered showers elsewhere, but that front will be on the move with rain chances in the Mid-South and in the Midwest as we head through Friday. Could affect some travel plans because of the heavy downpours, but that front comes right on down. And on Saturday, front number 1 gets really active all the way from the New England states, the Ohio Valley back into the Mid-South again. Scattered showers and thunderstorms, good rain chances. There's yet another round of showers and thunderstorms on Saturday, but look at the second front that comes down and continues to press through as we head through Monday and Tuesday of next week. The cooler air will start to make its way into the Midwest, and a really nice weather pattern from Labor Day on in the Midwestern states, the Mid-South, and into the Northeast through the end of the long holiday weekend.
And it's starting to feel like the end of summer across much of the country. Just 20 million Americans are under heat advisories today in the eastern half of the nation. There are no excessive heat warnings. Yesterday, Washington, D.C. hit 101 degrees. That's the hottest it's been there this late in the summer since 1980. High temperatures and high humidity can lead to a higher risk of heat-related illness. If you or someone you know is affected, you'll need to act fast. Terry Sullivan spoke with some experts to find out how you could best protect yourself.
Sunshine, intense heat, and high humidity can make anyone feel sick. That's why Billy Strong keeps a close eye on his son.
I always keep cold water in the car and just stay hydrated. And then if it's a day like this where it's really hot, maybe cut the playtime a little bit short.
While your body normally cools itself by sweating, sometimes it's not enough. And that's when trouble sets in.
There's a wide breadth of symptoms that patients can have, and being able to recognize it early is the most important thing.
Dr. Brad Gable is an emergency physician with Ohio Health.
Anything from lightheadedness to dizziness to cramping, like we mentioned, and then anything to even people being confused when things get extreme.
Here are some things to watch out for. Heat cramps can include heavy sweating with muscle pains or spasms. Move the person to a cooler place and encourage them to drink water. Heat exhaustion is more severe. Symptoms include pale or clammy skin, a fast or weak pulse, nausea or vomiting, headache, dizziness, or passing out. Experts say move the person to a cooler place, loosen tight clothing, and encourage them to sip water slowly. Use wet cloths to cool them off, and get to a doctor if symptoms get worse or last longer than an hour. Heat stroke requires immediate medical help. Symptoms include high body temperature, hot, red, dry, or damp skin, a fast or strong pulse, headache or dizziness, or nausea, confusion, and passing out. Call 911 right away and move the person to a cool place using wet cloths or fanning to help cool them off.
19 years ago today, Hurricane Katrina made its final landfall in Louisiana. Nearly 1,400 people lost their lives. It is still the most expensive natural disaster in U.S. history, but it wasn't a surprise. Just one day earlier, a National Weather Service meteorologist issued a now famous and chilling doomsday statement. Robert Ricks wrote, "Most of the area will be uninhabitable for weeks. The majority of industrial buildings will become non-functional, and the vast majority of trees will be snapped or uprooted." Meteorologist Emily Gracie looks back at Katrina's destructive force.
Katrina was born just 6 days earlier as a tropical depression over the Bahamas. 2 days later, it made its first landfall as a Category 1 hurricane over southeast Florida. The brief interaction with land caused minor weakening, but it didn't last long. It's a term we've heard many times in recent years, but it was unfamiliar at the time. Rapid intensification. That's exactly what happened when it hit the warm, open waters of the Gulf of Mexico. It soon became a rare Category 5 storm with winds reaching 175 miles per hour. By the time it reached the Louisiana and Mississippi coasts, it had weakened to a Category 3. But the storm surge was still massive and the impact was devastating. 80% of New Orleans flooded after the levee system failed. Highways and roads collapsed, stranding tens of thousands of people. The lower Ninth Ward was especially hard hit. The hurricane-force winds blew out windows in downtown buildings and significantly damaged the Superdome, which was serving as an emergency shelter. Mississippi also suffered serious damage. A storm surge of nearly 28 feet was measured at Pass Christian. The storm and its remnants brought rain, winds, and a few tornadoes along a path that extended all the way to Canada. 19 years later, it's still the fourth most intense hurricane to strike the United States. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist Emily Gracie.
And earlier this week, a tornado-like weather phenomenon called a landspout formed near El Paso, Texas. Meteorologist Evan O'Regan breaks down what happened, and he helps you better understand landspouts.
We're talking about a landspout, a tornado-like feature that forms very differently than your traditional twister. So let's get into exactly what a landspout is and how it came to form on Monday afternoon. So we had a dust devil in the vicinity of a developing thunderstorm, and it looked kind of like this, very skinny, much smaller than your average tornado, and also much weaker. Thunderstorms also have what are called updrafts, air going up from the surface up into the base of the cloud. That's rising air to help the thunderstorm try to develop. When those updrafts are near, say, a dust devil, it can actually draw that dust devil further up into the base of the cloud, kind of connecting it from the ground all the way up into the base of the cumulonimbus cloud, giving it a tornado-like appearance, even though it's not one. A landspout is actually not classified as a tornado as of recent months, and it develops, as you just saw, very differently than your traditional twister, not from the cloud to the base, to the surface of the ground, but rather vice versa, from the ground up. And thankfully, did not do any damage, and landspouts are much smaller, weaker, and also do not pose as big of a threat as your traditional twister either. So no need to panic. This is just a very rare and rather cool weather phenomenon that we all got to experience here in the borderland.
Well, we already knew last year's wildfires in Canada burned 4% of the nation's forests and negatively impacted air quality. New research from NASA published in the journal Nature yesterday says those fires also produced more carbon emissions, also known as greenhouse gases, than the burning of all fossil fuels in all but 3 countries, the U.S., China, and India. And that's a problem because in the past, forests were expected to absorb carbon, not emit it. That could speed up the pace of global warming. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, West Virginia is dealing with extreme drought. We'll look at how it's impacting those who are going to be visiting local lakes this Labor Day weekend. And coyote populations are exploding in Rhode Island. We'll look at how officials are working to keep their numbers under control.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. Yesterday's 80s are long gone. We should be in the 70s for highs today with low humidity. It's really a nice stretch over the next few days, courtesy of high pressure in place. Look for comfortable daytime highs, cool nighttime lows, and low humidity will be with us right through the end of the week. So let's take into Friday now. Notice a lot of sun continues. Best chance for a shower will probably be in New York and New Jersey. This round of wet weather should bring some showers to the area on Saturday.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Your Thursday is going to be a lot cooler. We'll keep some clouds in the vicinity. And across the area, we could see a couple of showers or thunderstorms popping up towards your late afternoon on, again, your Thursday afternoon. Friday looks to be fairly similar, starting out with partly sunny skies across the area. And again, a couple of afternoon showers or thunderstorms. The best news is the high heat is starting to push out of the area. We're going to be looking at highs only in the 80s on your Thursday. Friday, even cooler.
Good Thursday morning. Meteorologist Michael Arenberg with a check of your Southeast regional forecast for this Thursday. Parts of coastal Texas and Louisiana, some heavy downpours coming on shore, some flooding possible in that area. Other than that, heat of the day will pop up various areas of spotty showers and storms for just about every state over the southeastern U.S. And then things will wind down as we head out into the late evening hours. Very hot across the interior, 101 Nashville, 97 Tupelo, pretty much 90s everywhere else.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
This was the snowy scene in part of Montana. While temperatures soared in some other parts of the country, the flakes started to gather, turning the August landscape into a winter wonderland. But it's still a bit too soon to get used to the cold weather gear. The weekend forecast calls for temperatures that'll be warmer than average through Labor Day.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on Instagram.
In West Virginia, drought conditions are forcing some boaters to move their vessels or get stuck. But even with the drought, many boaters will still have access to a popular marina during the upcoming Labor Day weekend and into the middle of September. Bob Aaron explains.
Water's going down and we'll have to move them out of there and put them either on the docks or let them just go ahead and take them home.
The marina will closely monitor the lake level and will announce when other vessels must be checked out. The Berry family told us their pontoon boat hung up briefly, moving from the shoreline after getting warned.
It was already kind of beached a little, but we managed.
It is getting low. I've noticed it. I walk out here a lot.
Because of the extreme drought conditions, the Army Corps of Engineers draining water from the lake to maintain water quality downstream has had an impact earlier than usual. The fall whitewater rafting season, starting September 6th, also sucks water out of the lake.
That's right. Yep, next Friday we would begin our whitewater releases anyhow, so we're just a little bit early, although unfortunately it has begun to have recreation impacts.
Impacts on boating. The Summersville Lake Marina will remain open with full services, including fuel, boat rentals, and supplies, for as long as lake conditions allow.
Oxygen levels could be much better in the waters around Alabama's Orange Beach. Researchers are recommending dredging and aerators to help improve the sediment and water quality. Aubrey Spears has more.
The shallow waters and canals of Terry Cove and Cotton Bayou have long been a nursery habitat for wildlife. But over the years, development has replaced natural shorelines with seawalls, resulting in sediment accumulation. This is disrupting natural water mixing, which can impact water and sediment quality.
Both of those are coves or, don't have a good flow through there sometimes. And with all the development in those two areas, sometimes the water gets stagnant in there. We have a low dissolved oxygen or fish kills from time to time. And so the study was to see what could be done to improve water quality in those two areas.
Poor ecological health and low water column oxygen levels are contributing to algal blooms and fish kills in Terry Cove and Cotton Bayou.
Degrade the water quality is not good for anybody, the people or the animals that use that. So, looking at how that water quality could be improved at Orange Beach thought was very important.
To find a way to improve the water quality, Auburn University scientists developed a 3D hydrodynamic model to evaluate possible restoration options. Researchers tested 4 restoration scenarios and collected data on each scenario's impact on water quality.
Now that they have some information from the research that's been done, they can make some decisions on what funding to go after or how they might do some of the things that were suggested in this report to improve that water quality.
Researchers concluded that a mix of targeted dredging and bottom aerators would likely be the best restoration option. Through the test, the scientists discovered the combination would help maintain high water oxygen levels.
Coyotes are becoming a problem in a Rhode Island town north of Newport. Dealing with them involves much more than random culling of pack members. Tammy Tope Adelea tells us how folks in Middletown are trying to keep the animals under control.
Dr. Numi Mitchell with the Narragansett Bay Coyote Study says if any coyotes are to be culled, experts need to be behind it.
Well, human instinct is take the biggest ones, and the biggest ones are the alphas, and they maintain the territorial boundary, and they keep other coyotes out.
Mitchell says the younger juvenile coyotes seem to be the pet predators. The alpha male and females need to be protected.
If those two are removed, all the coyotes that have been kicked out, like older teenage pups, and there are about 50 of them all over Aquidneck Island, they will leak in, and Middletown will have many more coyotes than it started with, and you don't know which ones of those are going to be pet predators.
The Department of Environmental Management says with the lack of large predators, abundant food sources, and little competition, coyotes quickly became established in Rhode Island. But they do play an important role in controlling rodent and small mammal populations. Coyotes are classified as protected fur bearers under state law. DEM says removing human food along with regulated hunting and trapping is the most effective way to manage coyote populations.
I think the best thing Middletown residents can do is take a breath and look around and see where there are food items that are attracting coyotes. And if anyone out there can convince a neighbor or a person they meet not to train the coyotes to come in town, Middletown's problems will disappear.
Well, it's a balancing act in the Green Bay area as efforts continue to protect an endangered bird while managing recreational opportunities for people. The piping plover is a tiny shorebird that has found new nesting grounds just north of the city. Eric Peterson has the story.
During a pre-4th of July paddle around Longtail Point, bird monitor Jack Swellstead spotted something at the end of the island.
I found 2 piping plovers that acted like they were a mated pair. I looked around real quick and I didn't see any eggs or anything. And it turns out that about 3 or 4 days later, someone else went out there and found a nest with 4 eggs in it.
Scientists say it's the second year the endangered piping plovers are nesting here.
Everything was going well for a couple weeks, and then around the 4th of July, unfortunately, the male disappeared.
Audubon Great Lakes, Wisconsin Conservation Manager Tom Prestby says the site is not far from grounds found at the Cat Island chain a couple miles to the south. Jade Arneson is with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
As numbers within the population are expanding, that there's less habitat availability at Cat Island. So birds are starting to radiate out from Cat Island and find other suitable habitat at sites like Longtail Point.
Longtail Point is a popular place for people to recreate during the summer season. DNR District Ecologist Josh Martinez says signs are posted during the nesting season, which wrapped up in July.
We want to make sure these birds are given their space and they don't feel as if they are going to be getting hindered upon by the presence of people walking or their pets.
And we're going to be working with people out there to try to convey the message to share the shore with piping plovers and other wildlife.
Scientists collected 4 eggs raised them in captivity, and recently released the 4 healthy piping plover chicks into the wild.
You know, when you have that few birds, every one is important, every egg is important, every pair is important.
And it's time now for a short break, but first, let's take flight over Miami Beach, Florida.
Good Thursday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael. We have highs in the 90s and some scattered showers and storms working its way across the Midwest here. A little cooler to the north, got some 70s on the map, but it'll start to cool down and dry out behind this cold front and this rain. You can see by Friday, pretty sunny there across the northern plains and the Dakotas. And look at all the sunshine starting to spread across the Midwest on Saturday. Still some rain to the south and east moving its way out of here, and even cooler heading into next week.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. Everybody's waking up in the 70s this morning, with the exception for our friends in New Orleans at 80 degrees. A little humid up there. We're watching a lot of Gulf moisture move up and plenty of clouds. There'll be hit and miss showers all across the area, all the way back up in the North Texas as the cold front starts to make its way through. Otherwise, temperatures will be very summer-like for the rest of the day. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. That's a look at your regional weather.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson. Here's what's happening across the West. Most everyone in the West has somewhat quiet weather, but we've got a lot of warmer temperatures building in. So as the warm-up gets going, we do have some freeze warnings and frost advisories in parts of Montana. Boy, they are waking up with some chilly weather, and it's been a while since we've had chilly temperatures to start the day out, but we're going to warm up quite a bit across the board. Expect just a few scattered showers from monsoonal moisture across New Mexico. That's the scene from here.
Watching the National Weather Desk.
How does air pressure affect the weather? Meteorologist Kit Alexander explains.
I'm sure you've heard meteorologists refer to high and low pressure. As many of you know, the weather you're experiencing right now is heavily influenced by upper level weather patterns, in particular, high and low air pressure. With high pressure, we can expect less clouds and low rain chances. During summer, high pressure often brings clear skies and hot temperatures. One of the main reasons for this is known as sinking air. When the air sinks, it compresses air molecules, which results in the air warming. Sinking air also suppresses cloud cover because clouds form due to rising air. In contrast, low pressure brings more clouds and higher rain chances and rising air. As the air rises, it cools, condenses, and forms clouds, which often leads to higher rain chances. Ultimately, the sun plays a pivotal role in changing air pressure.
If you're looking for more weather content, you can find us on all your favorite social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. Make it a great Thursday, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.